Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Perfection Achieved. This is episode 11 and we've come quite a long way from our very first episode. Today we're doing chiffon cake. I've shared this recipe in several baking group pages, but I still get a lot of technical questions regarding this recipe and how to make it successful and foolproof in your own kitchen. So just a background on chiffon cake, call it a trivia. Chiffon cake was invented in 1927 by a California insurance salesman named Harry Baker. So just so happens Baker din yung last name niya, di ba? And he kept the recipe a secret for 20 years before deciding to sell the recipe to a company named or called General Mills, the owner of the trademark Betty Crocker. And what the company did was to popularize the recipe in the 1940s and 50s by making it the signature recipe on the side panel of their cake flour, which is the main ingredient for this recipe. So chiffon cake was heralded as the newest invention of the 20th century, and everybody was wondering what made it so special and why it was so moist and so fluffy and so, feather-like in texture and mouthfeel. And the secret was vegetable oil, because prior to the invention of chiffon cake, most cake recipes used butter or shortening or a combination of these two fats or even margarine. And so the cakes would, be a little bit firmer, especially when you refrigerated the cakes. So chiffon cake presented a new way of making a cake. So aside from using what you call the sponge method in making it, you have vegetable oil that creates a very soft and moist crumb, and the cake stays moist even if you refrigerate it. So today I'm going to show you my foolproof recipe for chiffon cake. And this is still based on the original Harry Baker formula that was released in the mid-1940s. I tweaked it a little bit to make it more stable and to make it a little bit more foolproof. Okay, so if you're a beginner in baking, just follow the rules that I will teach you today and nothing can go wrong. The recipe for this cake is in the description box below. So go on ahead and take a look at it, and you can copy and paste it to to your computer. And please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay? A lot more recipes will be coming your way. So let's begin. When you make chiffon cake, okay, the first thing that you do is to preheat your oven. So we're preheating our oven to 165 degrees Celsius. Don't use an oven with a fan, because that will just ruin the appearance and the texture of your cake. It will make your cake dry. So just use a regular conventional oven, preferably a deck oven, okay? One that you can control the top and bottom heat. But if you have a range oven, one of those ranges, home ranges, cooking ranges, or stoves with an oven underneath, that would be fine as well. Okay? You will need for this recipe 3 round baking pans measuring 23 centimeters in diameter and 5 centimeters deep. Okay? So there's no preparation for this pan. Do not grease it, do not butter it, do not line it with paper. It has to be bare. It has to be dry, extremely, immaculately clean and dry. Okay, so there's no preparation whatsoever. You can use an aluminum pan, an anodized metal pan, or one of these non-stick baking pans. Doesn't matter. Nothing can go wrong as long as you follow the recipe to the T. Okay, so this recipe will make 3 layers, okay? All right, so let's begin. So you need a bowl and a sifter. Let me just move my ingredients around here. So I hope everybody is doing well. We are filming this, today is August 6th. And tomorrow will be ECQ again, Enhanced Community Quarantine. So everybody is again anxious because we're still in the middle of this, pandemic, and we're going into another lockdown. So this will be a good chance for you to get into your kitchen and start baking. All right. So I have here my bowl and a sifter or strainer, and this is cake flour. So you have to sift your cake flour to aerate it and to get rid of any foreign particles if there are any, okay? So you need cake flour because cake flour has a very low protein content, and that's what you want when you make cakes. Low protein content means your cakes will come out nice and soft and fluffy. Okay, so I'm going to sift this, and into my cake flour, I'm going to add the first quantity of castor sugar. Okay, there are 2 quantities of sugar. The other one we will add to the egg whites when we make the meringue. So this one, the first quantity, goes into my bowl containing the flour. We also have some double-acting baking powder, a little bit of fine sea salt. If you can't find fine sea salt, just use table salt. All right? Now I'm going to whisk this all together. So we have all the 4 ingredients here, our dry ingredients. Okay? Next, we make a well in the center, and into this well, we're going to add the next ingredients. My original recipe for chiffon cake uses water, but I have since replaced that with liquid whole milk because milk contains protein and a little bit of fat, and that makes a better chiffon cake in terms of moisture and also the tenderness, okay? It creates a better chiffon cake. So I'm using liquid whole milk, but if you don't have liquid whole milk or fresh milk, just use water, you'll be fine. Some egg yolks. Okay. And our fat for this recipe is vegetable oil. If you can't find or you don't have vegetable oil, you can use canola oil or corn oil. Those will work equally well, as long as you're using a neutral flavored oil. Okay? Every single drop. A little bit of pure vanilla extract, or you can use lemon extract if you want your cake to be lemon flavored. All right, so I have my liquid ingredients together with my dry. I'm going to give this a nice whisk until I get a smooth batter. Okay, so I have my batter here and it's nice and smooth. So we're going to set this aside because the next step would be making the meringue. So meringue is a combination of egg whites and sugar, and we're going to beat those ingredients to a stiff mixture and then fold it into our batter. Okay, so let's do that now. You'll need a mixer for this task. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can always use a hand mixer, or if you are if you have the strength of He-Man, then you can use your hand, and just use a wire whisk to make your meringue. Now that would be a challenge, but also a labor of love. So into my mixer bowl, which has to be clean and immaculately dry, I'm going to add my egg whites. Now be careful when you separate your eggs, because even the tiniest bit of egg yolk that gets into the whites will make it very difficult for the whites to whip into a stiff mass, okay? And it might cause your chiffon to collapse. So make sure the egg whites are pristinely clean and free of any fats. Now into my egg whites, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of cream of tartar. And cream of tartar is a stabilizer that we use to prevent the over-whipping of egg whites. Because when you over-whip egg whites, it becomes dry and difficult to fold into your egg yolk mixture. So you're going to end up with a chiffon cake that is not as smooth and not as billowy. Okay? So the proper amount to use for cream of tartar is 1% the weight of your egg whites. Okay, we load this into our mixer, and using our wire whip attachment, we are going to whip this. We'll begin with medium speed. Okay. Okay, let's check our meringue and see if it has reached the soft peak stage. So all you have to do is to get the beater or the wire whip attachment and then pull it up gently and then flip it this way. And when you see that the meringue droops to one side this way, then you have achieved soft peak stage. Okay, stiff peak is when the tip of the meringue points upward. Okay, so this is soft peak stage. You know that we have achieved the correct stage. Okay, the next step now is we're going to continue whipping it on medium speed, and we're going to add the second quantity of our caster sugar gradually, slowly, to give time for the sugar to melt while it is being whipped into our meringue. If you do it too fast, then there's a chance that your meringue would collapse, okay, from the weight of the sugar. All right, so let me put this back. Okay, back to medium speed. Now we're going to trickle this in very slowly. Maybe about 1 tablespoon or 15 ml at a time. And then let it run for about 10 or 15 seconds before you add the next quantity. Now, baking is all about patience, and patience is a virtue. So unless you have patience, don't get into the kitchen, don't get into baking. You will just disappoint yourself. Okay, so we have added all our sugar. Now, we wait. We wait until the sugar is completely dissolved and our meringue is nice and stiff. That should take about 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, so let's check our meringue. I cannot give you exact mixing times for this because the mixing will depend on the speed of your mixer, what type of mixer you're using, or if you're using a hand whisk, then the mixing times will vary. So the most important thing here is that you're able to judge or evaluate the meringue based on how it looks. Okay, so let's check this out. Again, you take your wire whip attachment or the beater, you lift it up this way and flip it, and you will see that the meringue stands in stiff peaks or firm peaks, and that's when you know that you have achieved stiff peak stage. Okay, try not to over whip, because even if there's cream of tartar, you still can over whip it if you whip it for too long. So just until it's nice and firm, nice and stiff, and it's still glossy. Okay, don't whip it until it's dry already. Okay, you'll also know that it's stiff if you flip the bowl and the meringue does not, the meringue does not pour out of the bowl this way. See? Alright, so the next step would be for us to fold the meringue into our egg yolk batter. Okay? So the rule is always when you fold two things together, the lighter mixture is folded into the heavier mixture. Now, a lot of recipes will tell you to fold this gradually, and that's fine. You can do that. But for us here in the school and in my bake shop, we simply take the entire batch of meringue and we fold it in one go. Okay, so we fold this now. You fold this gently but quickly. Remember, you're dealing with egg whites or an egg foam, which you cannot work too slow, because then chances are your egg foam will collapse. And what you'll end up with is not a sponge cake, but a very dense and flat and tough cake. So, as you can see, I'm folding this gently but quickly. And I'm rotating the bowl as I do this. Now, don't be scared if you're a beginner in baking. Don't be scared making chiffon cake, because as long as you follow the rules, you're going to be successful, trust me. Okay, so let's check one more time in the bottom of the bowl if there are still any streaks of egg yolk batter remaining. I don't see any more streaks. That means we're good to go. All right, so let me get my pans and scale ready. All right, so I take a pan, put it on top of my scale, zero it out. Now each pan should contain 385 to 390 grams of cake batter, okay? So here we go. So 385, let's do 385 first. If there's any extra, then we divide it. Now the next thing for us to do is to bake our chiffon cakes. So spread your batter. Okay, I don't even use a metal spatula anymore. I just shake the pan and make sure to allow the cake batter to stick to the sides of the pan, okay? And then, once it's all nice and even, you simply tap it for about 3 or 4 times on your counter, and that releases large air bubbles trapped within the batter, okay? So again, shake, shake, shake. Okay, and then, once it's even, and the third. Okay, this goes into our oven, 165 Celsius, for approximately about 40 minutes or so. Again, my oven is different from yours, so you'll have to judge this by visual clues. So we bake the chiffon cakes just until it's nice and golden, well risen, and springs back when lightly pressed in the center. Now be careful not to underbake your chiffon cake, because if you underbake it, then it will shrink. Okay, so bake it fully. In our oven, we have several ovens here in my school. In one oven, it bakes about 40 minutes. In the other oven, about 32, 33 minutes. So there's a variance. Okay, but in my deck oven, where I'm going to bake this now, it bakes for about 40 minutes or so. Okay, so we're going to bake this now. Okay, so one of the secrets that I want to share with you to make your cakes super successful is that, so we bake it, right, for 40 minutes. Once it's done, once you see that it's well risen, it's light golden, and it springs back when lightly pressed, remove it from the oven and quickly, immediately, invert the cake pans, okay, onto cake boards, 10-inch cake boards. So here I have a cake board. This is a 25 centimeter or 10-inch cake board. Okay, you have parchment paper. So once your cakes are done, immediately remove them from the oven and quickly invert them onto your cake board lined with parchment paper. Okay, so here, or you can also use, if you don't want to use cake boards, then you can use baking sheets or sheet pans, no? So here we have a cake that we baked about 4 hours ago. So once it came out of the oven, we inverted it here onto our sheet pan with parchment paper, and you let it cool completely. So you just let it stay here this way with the cake pan inverted for about an hour or two until it's completely cool. And you see, this serves two purposes. Chiffon cake by nature is a very sensitive cake. Okay, it's a very fragile cake. And if you don't invert the cake, especially if you make the tall cakes, let's say in tube pans, if you don't invert it this way and cool it this way, then there's a possibility that the cake will sink in the center. And you don't want that. So by doing it this way, the cake is suspended upside down and it cools flat. It cools flat, okay? Another thing that this does is, as your cake cools, the heat contained in the cake actually steams the whole cake. And you will end up with a chiffon cake that is even moister than usual. Okay, it's moister, it's softer, and it's very, very flat. So it's perfect for frosting. And after an hour or two, we don't even have to unmold the cakes. Recipes would say, take a small knife and run it around the edge of the pan to release the cake. You don't even have to do that because this, we have not touched this since we inverted it, okay? And look, you lift the cake, the pan I mean, you lift the pan, the cake falls off from the pan. There's no need to, run your knife or your spatula, and you end up with a cake that's super, super soft, okay? So, let's see, huh? I always wear my gloves. Never touch food with your bare hands because you're dealing with food. Okay, so here's my cooled chiffon cake, and you end up with a very flat cake. And isn't this perfect for frosting? There's not much you would, trim off. And there you go. Perfect chiffon cake. Okay, so I have my cooled layers, and when we come back, of course, we're going to taste our cake with a cup of Earl Grey tea, as always. And when we come back, we're going to enjoy our cake. But in the meantime, I want you to view one of our online classes at the Bailiwick Academy. And this online class is on special celebration cakes. Hi, I'm Chef Joey Prats, and welcome to our online class entitled Special Celebration Cakes, featuring 3 very special and wonderful chiffon-based cakes, caramel crunch cake, espresso walnut praline cake, and my heirloom recipe for ube makapuno cake. Now, these are showstopper cakes which will make you the talk of the town. So please join us. This is going to be very exciting, and I hope you enjoy the class as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Welcome back. So I hope you enjoyed the teaser trailer for the Special Celebration Cakes online class at the Bailiwick Academy. If you're interested to purchase that class, simply click the link below in the description box, and that will take you to the web page, to my page at the Bailiwick Academy. Okay, so here we are, our perfect chiffon cake. Perfection achieved. So 3 layers of our vanilla chiffon cake. If you don't intend to frost this cake right away, all you have to do is don't remove it from the cake pans. Wrap the cake pans in double or triple layer of cling wrap and refrigerate it for up to 2 days before frosting. Okay, so let me set this aside, and right here we have a mocha praline cake, mocha walnut praline cake. And this is one of the cakes featured in my Special Celebration Cakes online class at the Bailiwick Academy. If you're interested to get the recipe for this cake, you simply have to enroll in the class. Now, this is our chiffon cake, which we flavored with instant coffee powder to make it mocha. And then we filled and frosted the cake with a very delicious French mocha buttercream frosting. And in between the layers and all over the cake, we have a walnut praline, which is so delicious. So I will teach you now how to cut your cake neatly to get those professional looking cuts. All you need is a pitcher of boiling water or hot water, a bread knife or a serrated knife, Dip your knife into the water. Keep it there for about 10 seconds. Take a paper napkin or a kitchen towel. Wipe the knife dry and make a slice. So a gentle sewing motion is perfect for chiffon cake. All right? Next, take the knife, dip it again in your pitcher of hot water. Keep it there for 10 seconds and then, just as earlier, take your kitchen towel or paper napkin and wipe the knife dry. And then make another cut with a gentle sewing motion. Now do this every time you're going to make a slice. So dip, wipe, cut, dip, wipe, cut. All right. So now we are ready to enjoy our chiffon cake. There you go. Can we see this on camera? So let me just lay it down this way. And of course, my day is not perfect or complete without my cup of Earl Grey tea. So let's taste our chiffon cake. And this is my favorite part of the show. Oh, wow. The reason I chose mocha walnut pudding cake is because I love coffee. I love, love, love coffee. And this is one of my favorite cakes. Next to my caramel crunch and my ube makapuno cake. Wow, this is really good. Nice, soft, really moist, very tender, it melts in the mouth. Perfect chiffon cake from stem to stern. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Perfection Achieved. More great recipes to come in our future episodes. This is Chef Joey Prats. Stay safe, everyone, and God bless you all.